Welcome to the Mark the Shark MMA show. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my Twitch channel. And if you can, check out the website as well if you want to be interviewed on a show or even help support the channel by buying a hoodie or a t-shirt. It's at www.markthesharkmmashow.com. You can even go there if you want to sign up and be on the show. And if you can't, go to retortofamilybooks.com and pick up an autographed copy of my book, The Kabbalah Saga Begins, or check out the books my daughter have written. They're also available on Amazon.com. All right, everybody, sit back and enjoy the show. Mark the Shark MMA show. All right, guys, we're back on the show. Today we got special guest Corey Buckingham. How you doing?
Good. This is my coach, Justin Paul.
Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So where are you guys at? What state?
Ohio.
Ah, okay. How's it going over there now? Is the weather cold or warmer now? It's probably cold, right?
It kind of warmed up, and then it got a little cold today. It's been windy.
Yeah, it's been windy. Next week, I think we're going to be 50s, maybe touching 60s, so we'll be all right.
Oh, wow. You guys are a lot warmer than we are.
Okay.
Yeah, the high today was 40, but it's been mostly like 30 degrees over there.
Sure.
This week.
Yeah. So give us a little background on yourself. So how long you been doing MMA for?
Oh, about 6 weeks.
Seriously?
Yeah. Well, I'm old to this, so I started grappling a couple of years ago. I'm 32. It's just kind of one of those, I don't know if it's an addiction, but it's just always been competitive in sports and stuff. And if it wasn't like semi-pro football or a little college football, or if it wasn't I'm not ready to get fat and go into the beer league softball. So this was kind of the next step. Started grappling in a place, Mount Vernon, just a small little place northeast of Columbus, about an hour.
Okay.
And there were some guys there that Dave Lashley, he's the head guy in Mount Vernon. He started training. Actually, oddly enough, my doctor, who's been my doctor forever, told Dave that he was getting fat right after high school. And he was like, you need to pick up karate or something. And that started a journey of 30 years of doing, karate, jiu-jitsu, grappling, all that stuff. And then it just kind of blew up in this area. Justin's a wrestler. We didn't have wrestling until I was a junior in high school at my school. I grew up in a school that was I think 90 on average graduating class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the next school next to us is a place called Danville. They usually have 40 in their graduating class. So it's a small little hick town area. So wrestling, it's always, Ohio's big on football. You know that.
Yeah.
Ohio's always football first, then it's basketball. Wrestling's really not as big, I think, as it once was.
No.
Especially in the Cleveland area and stuff like that. That's a big wrestling area. Cincinnati, you got the Jim Jordans and stuff, the rep Jim Jordan for, I think he's in, it's District 4. He won a national championship at Wisconsin. He coached at Ohio State. Now he's a U.S. state representative. Those were Cleveland, Lakewood area, St. Ignatius, Cincinnati. Those were the big wrestling areas. Columbus is more of a basketball, football area.
Okay.
And then Ohio is actually pretty big in baseball too in those areas. Where I grew up, it was baseball. It was a baseball town. A little bit of football here and there, but you're talking Division 6 schools. You got linemen that are 5'9", 150 pounds. So
Yeah.
you have guys playing guard, and then there'll be cornerbacks on the defensive side. So it's kind of weird. But how did you get
in high school? So school, you just did football. You did
football, basketball, baseball? Those were the big three.
Okay.
What's it like in Jersey where you're at?
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
the Frankie Edgars
my graduating class, we
it was a few hundred. We had our graduating class in what's called the Garden State Performing Arts Center,
Yeah.
right? Which, you know, groups like Van Halen performing. I mean, it's not Giant Stadium. It houses like, if you're not like just the inside part, probably like a few thousand, like 2,000 or 3,000, but it can get up to 10,000 if you include like the lawn area. But you have like groups like Van Halen that played there, and some other big names like Foreigner.
Are you more of a
That's
Sammy?
how Jersey is, but
Are you more of a Sammy Hagar guy or David Lee Roth?
I actually preferred music-wise, probably more of the Sammy Hagar, believe it or not, even though I started younger.
The guy's never really looked his age. He's looked 60 for 30 years.
Well, in terms of sports, like, we had wrestling. I didn't really know about it in grade school, but I'm sure it was around. I didn't really know about it till high school, but I always thought like wrestling was WWF. Meanwhile, we had
That was the same way it was where I grew up. Now, he was a wrestler.
high school, but
Yeah.
I'm like, you understand, when I grew up, the martial arts was different. It was all striking, right?
Yeah.
That was like the big thing. And then
Bloodsport,
everybody saw
Karate
the
Kid.
movies, the Chuck Norris movies. They really didn't have, there wasn't really an appeal to the grappling arts. That
Oh, you didn't have the Gracies yet.
The Gracies.
Yeah, it changed it all.
Yeah, But I mean, now there's a jiu-jitsu school. I don't go to it, but there's a jiu-jitsu school like I could walk to it. There's
Yeah,
like
it's
and
exploded.
the guy does MMA over there too. I forget the guy's name. He's huge though. He's like probably like 40, 230 pounds solid.
It's like the guy that runs this place, man. He's from New York. Ben Biso. He's in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I think he grew up in like Brooklyn or something. I mean, he's been here for like 20 years, but yeah, he's like that. He's like 6 foot, like 230, just like a rock.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that I always worry about. I'm like, those guys are 270 coming down to 225.
Yeah, my daughter turned the light off. Yeah, and then if you go, there used to be like a UFC gym, like probably like 2 or 3 miles from here. The place I train in is 8 miles. There's 2 Henzo schools within driving distance.
Okay.
Both within 8 miles from my house.
The big one here.
One was my instructor. The other one was a student that opened up his own school.
Gotcha. The big one here is really coming up is the Ronin Training Center. It's got, I think he's won Masters like 4 or 5 times. I think Vitor Oliveira.
Okay.
Yeah, he does Masters, but he's like 34. I mean, he's like 5'9", maybe like 180, and he's just it's amazing his strength and just how quick he is. He grew up in Brazil. That's mine over there. But it's really taken off. Like, I went to college with wrestlers and stuff, and it was always kind of intriguing to me. I'm like, what is this? Like, these are the toughest guys around here. I always thought it was the football players. I'm like, the football players have nothing on these guys.
Yeah. But like, not too many people knew about it back then.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, oh wow, like I wish I wrestled,
Yeah, I do too.
That would have been a big
think
advantage.
I think there's something to be said about sports where you don't really have to rely on a teammate for something. It's all you.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about that. I mean, team sports is great, but sometimes it's like, what are you going to do? You can hide a bad basketball player, which you've got 4 really good players. Just tell them to get under there and get rebounds. You can hide a football player if you're not really deep, put him at guard, But in wrestling, it's either you have it or you don't. In MMA, you have it or you don't. Same with boxing, all that stuff. How did you're probably what, late 30s, early 40s?
Oh, dude, I wish. I'm a lot older than I look, bro.
Well, we're handing out compliments today.
I'm probably older than your coach. No, man, I'm like 50, bro.
Really?
Justin looks older because he's got a gray beard, but Justin's only like 36, 37.
You see the great, yeah, you see the great, I'm 36 years old, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm clean shaved today.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
saw
there
me
you
a few
go.
weeks
Yeah.
ago. I wasn't clean shaved. So you
Justin
would've
is a
seen-
ladies'
I have
man.
I have all the gray hairs, all hair, bro.
I
I'm
hear
clean
you.
shaved today. So I want to look presentable to you.
Sure, man. I appreciate that. How have,
It's years of jujitsu, but years of jujitsu also makes me walk funny too. You know, I got like a lot.
I'm
of
starting to figure that out, and I've only been doing it for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't been doing it. I haven't done it since the lockdown. Like I
Really?
was injured, took like about a year off, went back, then they had the lockdown. But I'm looking to start back up. Start out.
Do you
small.
guys, and I've only done this with Justin, I did it last week, and it kind of has changed my whole outlook. I really haven't talked to him about it, but he put a blindfold on me and then grappled with him and a guy that actually works for me. We both own our own businesses. So, I mean, we're here late at night trying to do this because we both have families, we got kids. And, but he put that blindfold on and we started grappling, and it kind of changed my whole outlook on grappling. It's more about feeling pressure than I ever thought it was.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed. There have been competitors that are blind, that are crippled, that go to the jiu-jitsu class. I don't know.
Did you say you wrestled a guy?
Yeah, so, so I've
Wrestling
wrestled,
too.
yeah, I've wrestled
There was
blind
a
guys.
guy
You
on
gotta make
college
contact.
Wrestling team. He had some muscle disease. Like he walked.
There was a guy a couple years ago that wrestled that
where
didn't
he
have
tilted.
legs.
Yeah, he ran. He would run like 5 miles a day. He wrestled. I think he only won one match in college, but you know,
More matches than I won in college.
he did it. I mean, I'm sure he got better towards the end, but I just remember in the beginning. But yeah, he had like some muscle disease where his legs, like he had I seen like he walked with a limp and his whole lower body was tilted. But yeah, he would run. He'd be the last in line, but he did it every day, 5 miles,
Yeah.
and wrestled every weekend. You know.
Yeah, there's something to be said about it. I feel like I run into a lot of guys that are like, "Oh, I'm addicted to jiu-jitsu," and I think jiu-jitsu is kind of like one of those things. It's like a marathon. Same thing with grappling. Pretty much all your martial arts except for fighting, because I think you only got probably, especially if you're really good, you probably have a small window. Just like pretty much all professional sports, whatever. But I feel like I run into a lot of guys like, "Oh, I love jiu-jitsu, man. It's great." And they'll go hard for like a year and then you will never see them again. It's kind of like that love lust kind of deal where you kind of rush in, fools rush in.
Yeah.
But then again, how many years have you been grappling?
Oh, like over 15, 20 years,
Okay.
you know, that's not, it would be more if I didn't have breaks. I was injured for like a good, like 6, 7 years, like bad.
From grappling?
Yeah. I separated my shoulder and then I had, for years, I just couldn't get the pains out of my arm. Like I would have trouble holding a phone. Now I have problems with my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went back into it when I was 40. And then another 8 years. Then I had my thumb went back, but the real reason I stopped was because of my foot. I'm like, well, let me let my body heal. And it took a lot longer than I thought it was only gonna be like 2 months. It was like 8 months, 8 or 9 months. And then COVID hit, just as I was getting my groove back. But you know, I'll get back into it. I got.
Are they starting to lift some of your guys' restrictions there?
Well, let's put it this way: the jiu-jitsu community never really stopped.
Bingo. Well, that's one thing that I never understood.
Yeah, the only guys that actually stopped training were guys like my age, you know, or close to it.
Well, I noticed what was weird to me was even in the small little areas, these small little jiu-jitsu schools and stuff like that, they'd be like, wait a minute. So, and most of the ones around here are tied into gyms, like weightlifting gyms, Pilates, stuff like that. And that's just in the smaller areas. There are ones, you know, in Columbus, and we treat Columbus like it's our New York City because really, I mean, it's Ohio, whatever. But a lot of those were like we're not going to stop doing this because this keeps us healthy. This keeps our immune system better. Like, you want us to just stop working out? I don't know how many guys just do jujitsu 3-4 days a week, and that is their workout. And that is a great workout. And that's
Yeah,
how
for a
they
lot
stay
of
healthy.
people, especially the average guy, right? He's working, 9, 10 hours a day.
Sure.
He's only got that. I mean, unless you're disciplined and you can get up in the morning before you go to work to get a workout
Nope, not
ahead
this
of
guy.
time,
No,
they're
no.
they got an hour workout, and it's their workout after work. They go to jujitsu.
Yeah.
So unless they got more energy after that, they go to the gym. Like me, I was lucky for a few years. I was able to work out on my lunch hour.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and then prior to that, I would just rotate days, like one day gym, one day jiu-jitsu. But yeah, that's their workout. But it's a very unique situation we're in, right? Because I know guys that are all over the place and they haven't got COVID, and then you hear stories about people like, I don't know, they just went out once and they got it, like
Yeah.
it's crazy. So, but yeah, I'm at the point where I'm kind of like getting fed up. Like, I gotta start doing something.
You're not alone. A lot of people are like that. And
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I mean, it's like one thing. It's like, once you don't want something to get taken away from you, because
Yeah.
it's like, how am I gonna get that back? It's like wearing the mask deal. It's like, how long are we really gonna do this?
Yeah. If you look at it, yeah. Now for you guys, it's just you and your coach and like one other guy? I'm assuming you're at a gym now,
I'm
or
at a
at
gym.
someone's house?
This is actually not my normal gym that I go to. We just kind of, I live 20 minutes from here. Like, for you guys, you live in town, right? So I live out in the middle of nowhere on like a dirt road. So like, anything to me that's like close is like 30 minutes or more. And that's like always the way I grew up. So it's like, oh, I'm going to town. It's 45 minutes away. It's like, that's all I ever knew. Whereas some people in like the bigger cities are like, that's 8 miles that way. That's way too far.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But there was probably 40 little kids in here just a little bit ago. I mean, this is for Newark. I mean, this is probably the most active martial arts gym by far here.
Yeah, it's a pretty state-of-the-art facility over here. He's got, multiple depths of rooms throughout the facility. He's got, scanning your membership things, like everything's kind of digital. It's a very state-of-the-art kind of thing. I used to teach for him years ago, and we were part of the Premier Martial Arts system. I don't know if it's a franchise, the Premier Martial Arts. You remember Hermes Franca?
Yes.
Okay, so Hermes Franca, he used to fight for Premier Martial Arts years ago. So we had some names, and we did a lot of seminars like in Tennessee and things like that. But so since I've gotten out of the game, and this facility is just right down the street from my house, and so when Corey got a hold of me, like, hey man, I took a fight, you available? So this is kind of the meeting.
So he got his own fight. You didn't find him a fight. He went out.
Actually, the way this happened was there was this guy, and there's like an Ohio amateur MMA thing on Facebook, and there's this Ohio Combat League, and they've been having fights really close to here, like 10 minutes from here. And all of a sudden, this pops up, and this guy's like, hey, I'm looking for a fight at 185. And I was like, the guy that works with me is a pro fighter. And I was like, I'm going to tell this guy that I'm 95. And next thing I knew, the guy that runs it, he's a teacher, and his name's Mark Coffer. He's a pro fighter or whatever. And my wife's a teacher, and I thought she would not be happy with it because, teachers and all that. So I didn't tell her for a while, and that blew up in my face, but whatever. She's cool with it now. But that fight fell through. So then he offered me another fight. It was a guy from my own gym. So I asked the guy, I was like, I'll fight him. And the one guy that runs the gym is like, I don't really want you guys fighting. You're in the gym. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And then he offered me a third guy. And I was like, it's like 4 weeks. It's like a couple weeks later. I was like, I'll fight him at 205. How about that? I'll come down some weight. So yeah, I mean, the guy that I'm fighting is in 2 days, and he's never had a fight. I've never had a fight. I think he's more of a striker. So we're
Okay.
gonna see. It's just
Okay, so the
I
first
never
guy you were
expected
gonna
it to
fight at
happen.
185? Did I
I
hear
was
that
gonna
right?
fight him at one. I told him I'd
That's
meet him
right.
at 195, and then that fell through. And then the other
So
guy
how
was
much
gonna,
weight did you have to cut to make 195?
I was gonna have to cut about 28,
Oof.
which
And
I
you've
could
never
have
cut
done.
weight before, have you?
Oh yeah, I have for jujitsu tournaments.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So I've done that. Usually it's like water loading, like,
Yeah,
3-4
yeah,
days
yeah.
out. It's amazing. Like one night, I think I lost 13 pounds by the next like day, 24 hours. Like, this is incredible. Now, granted, I didn't feel good and I was seeing double for a little while, but I knew some wrestlers and stuff, and they kind of told me exactly how to do it. And I was like, this is what you guys do to your body? This is terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Did they tell you to do the water loading trick?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So, I would do like 2
Yeah,
gallons, 1
it's
gallon,
weird.
half, nothing.
Yeah, you start out
Wow.
drinking, I think, one day 2 gallons, and then the next day a gallon, and then you.
Yeah, it was 2 gallons, 1 gallon, a
Yeah,
half, and then
Yeah.
nothing. And then the day you weigh in, nothing. So by the time you're there, you're just so depleted. It's wild.
I did that. I think I did that once or twice. I thought that was weird because prior to that, I would always just starve myself
Oh, okay.
and just do a lot of cardio. But I did that once. I forget why I chose that one. I think a friend of mine who's done MMA told me about it, and then
So
I tried it.
the last time I did it was for a tournament up in Akron, Ohio. And they were having early weigh-ins. So I didn't drink for like 2 days before I went into weigh-ins. I walk into the gymnasium to weigh in, and they're just setting up the mats for the next morning. And he was like, "What's your weight?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 203." He was like, "All right, good." Never even weighed me. I was like, I was like, I just water loaded and starved myself for a week. And then he's like, "All right, man, you have a good one." I'm like, this is killing me.
Oh wow!
I
So now
immediately went over and got like a Big Mac.
So now you definitely have a match in 2 days at 205, though.
Yeah, I was 204 this morning, so
All right. So
I haven't cut any really. I haven't the last couple. I mean, we've been going pretty hard. I've been watching my diet and stuff. I'm excited for it. I think it's a good match for me. From what I've seen, he's got some videos on there. He seems like a heavy-handed guy. So
Is he gonna stream it on YouTube or anything?
there's like a pay-per-view. There's actually, this is like one of the only, it's OCL 10. It's tomorrow night. There's like 30, I think there's 15 or 20 fights.
Tomorrow night, and then
Yeah, tomorrow
the
night.
next
And
night?
then I think there's some amateurs tomorrow night too. And then there's another 15 or 20 fights on Saturday. Like, they've really loaded it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like one of the only ones. There's guys coming from like Philly to fight on this one because PA's not having fights. So it's pretty wild. I'm surprised.
Well, I'll tell you,
Philly's a hike to get to you.
well, they've got a lot of
7 hours.
a lot of experience between the staff for this promotion. We've dealt with the matchmaker years back. Her name's Nicole. She used to
Nicole Castillo. Her husband's
what's his Nick? Maybe Nick.
the Mexican Muscle. That's
What's
his
name? Nick, maybe, or
Nick,
Matt.
Matt Castillo or something. But he's got the Mexican Muscle on his stomach, and that's his fight.
So
That's his fight.
she used to matchmake for the NAAFS years back, and they
Okay.
brought big names. The most recent one that they brought to UFC is Stipe Miocic.
Okay.
So he was a big name on. So they've got a lot of history, a lot of experience. These guys are great, great at matchmaking, great at promoting and putting on really good shows. So, I mean, people want to come to this organization because they know the exposure that it gets.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, like I was surprised because I've heard guys back in the day. For example, the first time I ever heard about UFC or anything like that, my brother-in-law, who's a really good athlete, took one of his buddies and they went to like this bar and they were like having MMA fights. And the guy, his name's Eric Fisher, and the guy that he fought had like, what was it? like white pride tattooed like on his leg or something, like, you know what I mean? Like Aryan Brotherhood or something like you hear about some of these crazy stories about fights 15, 20 years ago before it was
Yeah.
really sanctioned and stuff. I mean, guys, bars, barns, you know, fairgrounds but now, I mean, this place is state of the art. They just remodeled this Ohio Event Center. It's in Granville. I mean, Granville, my buddy just bought a house there a couple years ago for 400,000. His taxes are almost 20,000 a year. And it's just right there. I'm like, wow, they have really gone all out for amateur MMA fights. I was like, if I want to fight somewhere, it's going to be 25 minutes from my house. It's going to be at that place. So I can't lose in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I was glad you had me on.
Yeah, man.
It's definitely a little. I went to school with some guys that ended up being really good fighters. One was, Trent McCown. He's fought in some really. I mean, he's been right there a couple times. I mean, he's fought the guy that he just fought. He lost to. That guy. His next fight was in the UFC. His name is Jared Gooden or something.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
no, it's not. And that's the crazy thing is, this is a little different perspective. I'm in my 30s now, just doing a fight, own a business. But I mean, I think that's kind of the thing is if you like to compete and you've got a toughness about you, it doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter how old you are. I wouldn't want to be doing this at 40.
Yeah.
But I feel younger than I feel younger than the age that I have. But I think a lot of that's just kind of keeping active.
Yep. Yeah. That's the good thing, right?
Yeah.
You gotta keep your mind and body active.
It's true.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
Justin's problem. His mind's always active, but he's just not very physically active anymore. He fought at like 135. He was a good fighter too.
Yeah. Wow. That's good, man.
You obviously write. You got this podcast. You do a lot of stuff. What is your full-time day job? So when you get up in the morning, what do you do?
I'm in information technology. Let's just leave it at
IT
that.
guy. Yeah, there you go.
And I have like a hectic schedule, so yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Justin does drywall, roofing, does residential and commercial construction. I'm a door guy. So I only do like commercial doors, storefront glass, stuff like that. It's just me and one other guy. So we're constantly just doing something stupid. And it's like, they'll be like, you want to come do this door? It's like, sure. But then I'll be working on a $100,000 project. Next thing you know, I'm over working on like $1,000 project. I'm like, this bartender's kind of cute. I guess I'll just, go over here. So that's the beauty of owning your own business. Sometimes you kind of do what you want until you get in trouble. So
Yeah. So it
you got
works out.
kids?
Yeah, I got 4 kids, bro.
4 kids, 4 daughters. I saw that.
Yeah.
My goodness. That sounds like I have 2 daughters
Yeah.
and I've got a son. So now you have 4 kids, 4 different women, right?
No.
Oh, okay. That's usually my go-to. Like I'll be like, I have 3 women. I have 3 kids, 3 different women. It's kind of a hectic time. People
Man.
just look at me like that's a joke. I've been married for like 8 years, but I just like to see the reaction to people. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like an NFL player, but just kind of, I'm not an NFL player, just to kind of get that reaction. So
Yeah, man. Nah, man. Can you imagine? I mean, unless you're there's certain ethnic groups where they're allowed to have multiple wives, right?
yeah,
And unfortunately, those ethnic groups, it's in their culture for the women to obey and listen to the man.
sure.
Because if it wasn't for that, can you imagine having 4 wives, bro?
No, I killed myself a long time ago.
What's enough, bro?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. Like that's a cultural norm that I don't think I'll ever figure out.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Can you imagine? 4 people
No,
telling
I
you
try
what
not
to do?
to.
No, I can't. You should stop bringing it up too. Yeah.
That's fucking insane, bro.
Oh, dude, I can't even. Like sometimes my wife will pull something, and I'm like, excuse me. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll get some sass going. The next thing I know, I'm like, if the worst thing that would ever happen to me probably is if I got divorced, because she would just kill me. Because like, I mean, I would be living in a box
Now imagine that times
Yeah,
times 4 women. Like, I'm like the Antonio Cromartie of door guys.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, it was great having you on the show. Good luck on your fight.
No, man, I appreciate it. Maybe we can do it some other time.
Definitely, definitely. And then we'll have you back on probably after your fight if you want to talk
Yeah,
about
that'd be good. That'd
it. Hit
be
me
good.
up.
It was a pleasure.
All right, guys. All right, guys, we'll be back after the short break.